All right, music fans, welcome back. It is Dave, the Real Music Observer here, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there and just like me right here. Okay, so again, busy last 48 hours with all of the Steve Perry news. In the last video, I talked about how I was going to talk about the one person who's probably going to be most affected by the return of Steve Perry. And I can't help but be a little bit, I guess, just torn because of this situation, because I know how hard the guy works every time he goes out and performs, and I understand that nobody is Steve Perry, and to fill those shoes is just one hell of a task. And he's been doing it now for a decade, and he's going to be overshadowed by everything that's happening. And as one human being who looks at another human being's plight through all of this, the guy already gets enough grief online. When he first came aboard, it seemed as though it was just like a magical thing. Now the magic over the decade may have faded a little bit as this Perry hype has escalated to now a point where people just can't stop talking about Steve Perry. Yes, a television special has been confirmed on CBS. You've seen that pretty much in the last two videos I've done. But there are no television specials slated for the one and only Arnel Pineda, who, whether you like the guy or not, whether you think he sings well or not, that's not what this particular video is about. You had three guys who kept the entire thing going. And by the way, those three guys generated a lot of revenue for Steve Perry, because as you know, Steve Perry gets a cut of all of the live concert and touring revenue. Supposedly that percentage has been going down, but it is still a sizable amount. And of course Perry gets all of the publishing that he was a part of, and each time these guys go to a town near you, those Journey songs get spun, and most of them are with Steve Perry on lead vocals. I don't hear anyone playing Change for the Better or anything like that where Arnel is singing, or City of Hope, or some of those other great tunes that Arnel has been a part of. And look, radio doesn't really acknowledge Arnel Pineda on the radio. They just acknowledge Steve Perry. So that's a bit of a bummer for me, looking at what's up next for Arnel. And I have told people now for almost a year that this thing could be over for Journey on October 7th, which, by the way, is the same date this interview airs on CBS. Nothing is a coincidence, people. Nothing. Arnel will be performing his last gig at the LA Forum, unless, Hervé Zoff decides to add some shows. I bet you there's some kind of an agreement out there where one thing ends and then another thing starts. And while people are elated about Steve Perry, I have mixed emotions about Steve Perry. I just think Steve Perry has kept us all waiting for so long, and three guys helped keep his legacy alive. Now you may say that's not true because Steve Perry is his own legacy. But if you keep this Journey music out there, and you keep looking back at who that original guy was. I mean, if Journey had just gone away, a lot of people probably would have just said, hey, you know what, it's over, those are great days. But as long as Journey is out there, people are always going to say, hey, Journey was better with Steve Perry. And because Journey continues to tour and continues to generate revenue for Steve Perry, a lot of fans have just always kind of thought of Arnel as like just the replacement guy, even though he's getting rave reviews, by the way. for concerts that Journey has recently done. The only complaint from what I've read is that sometimes the mix is a little bit low on his microphone, and he's got to kind of sing above the din of all of the noise and the music and so forth. So look, I had to do this video because there are Arnel fans out there. The younger fans that have kind of caught Journey fever over the last decade or so, those are Arnel fans. Steve Jerry, who's playing county fairs right now, who deserves better in his life. He was the guy who basically reignited the torch. You know, it took them a long time to rebuild that audience, but they went from, if you read John Cain's book, I mean, they went from really small venues to, you know, large stadiums, and people were actually boycotting Journey with Steve Jerry as the lead singer. Arnel never had to deal with that because they had already gone through all of that, and the people who were so pro-Steve kind of just gave up and said, yeah, we're not going to keep protesting, you know. Jeff Scott Soto, fantastic vocalist, great guy, one of the hardest working dudes in rock and roll, and he was another guy for 11 months that kept the flame burning until Arnel got there. And Arnel, nothing short of fantastic, amazing, brilliant at times, a guy who can mimic so many different voices. And that's why I think maybe, you know, when this is done, you know, if Journey says we're done, I think Arnel should look into maybe fronting another band. Chicago these days, they really need a lead vocalist. Somebody with a little bit of energy and excitement, somebody who can emulate that Peter Cetera sound, which Arnel did plenty of times back in his zoo days over in the Philippines. So that's pretty much it for this video. The guy who is definitely going to take a hit, both career-wise and just when it comes to social media and forgetting about the guy who has kept the store open, that's been Arnel Pineda. He is the man. Arnel, this video is for you, buddy. Have a great day, everybody. See you soon.